Namaste and good evening to all the beautiful ladies and noblemen. I welcome you all to Phoenix Literature Fest's Intellectual Conversations episode number 84. In today's episode, we will be discussing about the rise of reading crime fiction. But before that, I would like to introduce our honorable guests. First off, we have got Anirban Bhattacharya. Anirban has been in the world of media, television production, and content creation for past 22 whooping years. He is the co-creator, producer, and writer of Savdhan India, one of the most defining crime shows on television. He is also the producer of Crime Patrol and Fear Files. Not only that, he is the number one best-selling author of the true crime book, The Deadly Dozen, India's most notorious serial killers, published by Penguin India. He has four slated books for release in 2022, including a YA fiction. He was born in Calcutta and studied in Dr. Graham's home, Kalimpong. He did his BA in English from St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, and then mass communication, MA in mass communication and film and televisions from MCRC in New Delhi. He has been the head of content at Channel V. He has also been the head of non-fiction content and brand solutions at the Walt Disney Company India. When he's not deep diving into the world of true crime and horror, he's an award winning stand up comedian and a movie actor as well. So, give a great round of applause for Anirban.
Thank you so much. And now we've come to the end of the show. We've taken up all the time now. Okay, bye everybody. इतना बोलने का क्या जरूरत था?
All right. So, yeah, आपका बड़प्पन है. But next up, we have got Vani Kaushal with us, who is a former business journalist, now an international author and a columnist. Born in Libya to the Indian parents, she's an alumni of Kingston University, London, and Punjab University, India. She took a plunge into the world of fiction writing after trying her hands in business journalism, working for leading newspapers like the Times of India and the Financial Express. Her debut rom com, The Recession Groom, was released in the year 2015 to widespread acclaim with the top class reviews in all the newspapers of India. Her novel also received praise from international readers. She was interviewed by international broadcasters, including Doordarshan and Kalinga TV. Her interviews have been published in India Today, Hindustan Times, Times of India, DNA, The Hindu, The New India Express, Khalij Times, The Economic Times, Business Standards, The Tribune, The Indian Express, Dainik Bhaskar, and I would still be calling out the names of the newspapers. So, by the way, Vani, by the way, Vani recently made foray. Vani, just give me 1 second. Foray into the
Yeah,
non with her book Flowers Forever, which is published by the US by the US publisher Worldwide Arts Book. Her book celebrated the 4-decade artistic career of Elizabeth Lizo Shinen, an award-winning American Armenian artist. Her new book is already getting rave review, and she has already been profiled by Hindustan Times, Indian Express, Lifestyle Magazine, Quint, and Daily Post. She splits her time between reading and writing novels. Occasionally, she also contributes columns to online posts like Scroll, Quint, Open Magazine, and Lifestyle Magazine. Welcome, Bani.
thank you so much, Sumit. I'm wondering if you can see me because for me the screen is frozen, like it's frozen and it's not, nothing is moving. So should I
We can
leave
see
and
you.
you can see me, but I
Yeah.
like you can
Yes, we
see
can,
frozen.
we can certainly see you. So now it is the time to welcome our third honorable guest, Mr. Maanas Lal. He's an award winning artist whose work has made waves across the art and literary worlds. And a creative print media columnist, he has hundreds of articles to his credits. Manas's art has been featured in Outlook Traveler, The Times of India, Vogue, National Geographic, and other prestigious publications. Digital work can be found in public and private collections across the world, including the countries like of UK, USA, and New Zealand. Manas has learned Hindustani classical music and also plays the guitar. His song covers on YouTube have garnered more than 1 million views. He has worked in the elegant domains of cloud computing and database management. He has Harvard certifications in time management and customer focus. He has played lawn tennis and table tennis at the state level. Last but not the least, Manas's debut book, Murder in the Bylanes, co-authored with best-selling writer Alok Lal, is set to release with Bloomsbury, India in February this year. Welcome, Manas.
Thank you.
So, have we lost Vani, or is it only me who cannot see
No,
her?
I think she's left, and then she's going to try and join back because her screen
I
was
think
frozen.
we joined because the screen was frozen.
All right. So, in the meantime, what we can do is we can see some of the work which our honorable guests have done. So, I would request the operator to please pull up the videos for our viewers. Can we have the video, please? And here we go.
So it's a very pulsating work of fiction on fame and glamour. Really one of the best suspense thrillers that I've read lately. You won't want to put this one down.
Loved all the characters and couldn't help feeling bad for Samir. Please keep writing books. Can't wait for the next one.
Plots and twists are so perfectly well placed. I recommend everyone to just
So it's a very pulsating work of fiction on fame and glamour. Really one of the best suspense thrillers that I've read lately. You won't want to put this one down.
Loved all the
I think there's
I
some
think,
technical issue, yeah,
yeah,
because
I think,
the videos were lagging.
yeah. So maybe once we are through with the questions, then maybe we can play the video. I hope that is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
All right. So my first question to any of you is, storytellers are hardwired into their ideas, but normal people aren't. So, for example, you guys are the storytellers because you can write it. You have the story here in your mind. I am a normal guy. I don't have a story anywhere around me. So, what is the process to get that story out? If I would start with Vani.
How to get? I think we all have ideas around us. It is just that you have to. There are a lot of ingredients that go into the process of writing a book. So when we are talking about book in specific, it's like I get so many story ideas. As you go about the day, you read stuff and you talk to people and you realize, that there might be a story there. But I don't usually work on a story until I'm sure that I will be able to pull it across at least 300 or 200 odd pages. So it has to have enough meat in it for me to create something interesting out of it. That's when I'm writing. That's when you're talking about fiction, and that's the only thing that goes into it. And otherwise, you can put intrigue and all the other components. You can put intrigue. You can put crime if it's crime fiction. You can put romance if it's romance fiction. So it's just how the story idea is coming to you and how you want how you see it panning out uh, across whatever work you are creating. So it's just that. As far as writing, picking up an idea or selecting something is concerned, that's how I go about the whole thing. I would love to know how Anirban does it or how Manas does it.
Absolutely. Even I am longing to know about it. So, Anirban, your views on that, and followed by Manas.
So I think all of us are actually storytellers. All of us are actually storytellers.
Mhm.
We all have stories. Even it all depends on your own power of imagination, and of course the craft of writing that that will take that idea from being an ordinary idea to making it something which is worth reading for the readers. At the end of the day, we write and tell stories for readers. We don't do it for ourselves. We are not bathroom singers. Um, so I think even you will have a story. You wake up in the morning and you go off to the market and you buy your vegetable and you come back. And that may seem like an ordinary everyday experience to you till you take the viewer into your world and start describing the first sounds of the morning that you woke up to, the smells, the sounds of the bird. You woke up, you stepped out of the house, you stepped on cow dung. Everybody said, "Oh, कितना अच्छा दिन जाएगा तेरा, क्योंकि ये तो lucky है." But you were sitting there for the next 15 minutes trying to clean your shoe, and
Yeah.
then you go to the market, and then so an ordinary event, an ordinary story can be told in a in a storytelling manner. So all of us have stories. The way I choose stories is, and I write on a varied selection of genres. My
Mhm.
first book was a true crime. My second book is a collection of poetry and photographs, which has
Wow.
just come out. Okay,
Amazing.
my third one is a YA fiction. My fourth is a love story, a memoir. My fifth is true crime. My sixth is horror. So I write everything, and I don't believe in pigeonholing authors unless and until they want to, be that, saying, "Okay, I am a rom-com writer, and I will only write rom-com." That's fine. But for me, the adventure is picking up different genres and delivering something that's worthwhile. So I
Wow.
choose subjects that appeal to me, and all of
Amazing.
these are, yeah, stories like my book, which is, it's called The Hills Are Burning. It's to be
Mhm.
published by Fingerprint Publishing this year. It's about my growing up years in Kalimpong during the Gorkhaland agitation while I was in boarding school, class 9, 10, 11, 12. The way we grew up, fell in love, got up, hearts broken, set against the turmoil of the Gorkhaland agitation where bodies were piling up in front of us. And we had to face death and grow up. That's
Mhm.
again a real life story. So I write something that appeals to me.
Okay.
That's how I choose my stories.
That's actually amazing, Anirban. I mean, like you have made it so simple that everybody has the story around us.
Of course. Of
When
course.
you wake up until you sleep in your bed, you have a story. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of us are actually writers I mean, can be writers, right? हमारे अंदर क्या है? डाउट है, सेल्फ डाउट है कि मैं कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं. करेक्ट, वो एक है. दूसरी बात ये है कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, है ना? कि हम लिखेंगे और निकलेगा फुस, तो बोलेंगे अरे यार तुमको एमबीए तुम्हारा अच्छा है या तुमको चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी अच्छा है, क्यों कर रहे हो ये सब बकवास चीज. हाँ, ये बात है कि आप लिखने से पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे, वो गारंटीड अभी से मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि ऑथर बन के पैसा तुम नहीं बनाओगे, तुम लिखते हो क्योंकि तुमको अच्छा लगता है लिखना.
Amazing,
So,
amazing.
so the thing is, writing is a chore, is a job. The more you write, it's like practicing. Manas will tell you that if you
Yeah.
spend 15 hours in a day on the net, you will improve your forehand and your backhand. Right? You can't sit on the sides, like how we do watching cricket now. अरे यार सचिन को ना वो स्क्वायर कट करना चाहिए था. अबे बेवकूफ, he is facing शोएब अख्तर. 22 यार्ड से गेंद आ रहा है और तुम सिटिंग रूम में बैठ के पॉपकॉर्न खा के बोल रहे हो यार इसको स्क्वायर कट करना चाहिए था.
Absolutely.
So you have to be on the pitch. You have to be on the pitch to play.
Absolutely. Manas, what are your views on this?
To pick up from where Anirban left, after two such accomplished authors have answered a question, adding more to it is like facing a Shoaib Akhtar delivery at some point. But still, so I don't necessarily agree with the term hardwired, because from the school of thought I come from, I actually did a substantial stint of time with the IT industry. And hardwired is usually said for something which is not flexible. I think flexibility is inherent to writing. Flexibility is inherent to the making of ideas and understanding any concept. So, I mean, maybe we're a little more observant, but I believe everybody has a story to tell. In fact, a lot of the books I am working on are stories of people who never thought they had a story to tell. So I think it's underestimating people when you say that we have some special dimension which enables us to write stories. But yes, maybe we have, made that effort and we have stopped bothering about kaun kya kahega. So that perhaps makes a difference. And again, I'm also working on a series of books and different genres: crime fiction, crime non-fiction, YA, and it's a thrilling ride. And it's like a habit now. So it's hardwired to that extent that I feel like doing it, and I really enjoy it.
रात को बैठ के नहीं लिखोगे तो you start getting withdrawal symptoms. You have to sit and write every day.
So the process per se, I think, is overrated. Everybody has their own process, so I don't think it's really some technical manual which you can follow. But maybe just sticking to what you love and how you like to write is what makes each one of us click.
Yeah. So basically the yes,
I would like
please.
to add something to what Anirban and Manas said. Everybody can write, and the thing is, they're both referring to what they're talking about is self-doubt. So I'd just like to share an incident where not one incident, couple of incidents have happened where people know I write, so they come to me like, okay, we want to write books, but we're worried that we won't get a publisher for it. Like they haven't written a word, to be honest, and they're already worried about the publisher and the whole publishing process and how they'll have to have a cover letter or a sample chapter or whatever. And then, yeah, a lot of people are bothered about the money they are going to make. So I agree with what Anirban says that the starting point of anything has to be how passionate you are about it. Do it for the passion, the money will follow. Whatever you have in your destiny or howsoever much you're supposed to make or the work is supposed to make, it will happen. But I don't think, your starting point could be that. And that's where, most people are like, oh, हमसे नहीं लिखा जाएगा. अरे यार, हम भी तो लिखते हैं ना. And then there's also this thing that people don't want to leave the comfort of their full-time job. And I I don't know about you all. I mean, I don't know about Manas and Anirban, but I used to struggle a lot with my full-time job because creative writing, the whole process is very different. It's very it absorbs you, and it's just like मैं job पे जाती थी तभी I used to be thinking about, oh God, what is my next twist going to be like, and so I can't multitask. It's a very special sort of an energy. Your mind has to be free of all the other katra, and then that energy flows. So that's why, for me, it was like impossible to work with a full time job. And which
So
people are, I mean, I understand many people struggle with that, full time job or writing bhi karenge और पैसे भी कमाएंगे.
right. So
Hmm.
basically,
मुंह मुंह
is that
से
your
लगाएंगे.
process and it's right for you. Yeah.
Yeah, just to pick up from what Vani said, just a small point is that in my case, my full-time job is that of a painter. So these two pretty much work hand in hand, right?
So
It's
Are actually
growth. So
a bit of a
beautiful.
manipulation. So I don't really, feel hampered by the other kind of work I'm doing, which is a big plus.
आप क्रिएटिवली वो भी क्रिएटिविटी का है ना. अगर आप were probably working in an office, then you it's a whole different story altogether. So I don't know,
Hmm.
people do it. I'm not saying people don't do it, and I have a high regard for them.
So I do it. I have a full-time job, and
Uh,
I realize that if I'm going to keep saying that, oh, I want to become a writer, but never get down to writing it, and worry about कि मैं जमैका पहुंचा नहीं, लेकिन मैल्कम मार्शल का bowling से already डर लग रहा है. It's almost like that. So I decided I have to write. If I don't put pen to paper or my fingers on the keyboard, it's not going to happen. It's not magic. So I decided I partitioned my life. So I used to come home by about 8, 9 from the office. 9 to 10 to 11, I would be with my family, have dinner, sit with my family, kid, all of that. From about midnight or 11:30 to about 5 or 6 in the morning, I used to write.
my
So that
God.
was my writing time, right? Say from about 11 to 6 in the morning every day. Then from 6 to 8:30, I would sleep. About 9 o'clock, 9:30, whatever, get up. I think by 10, I was out of the house. So for a year, I had about 2.5 hours, half hours sleep every day. But that helped me to write my book. If I hadn't sacrificed my sleep, I wouldn't have got the book, right? So
somehow
in
what
Bengali,
you're
in Bengali, there is a word, there's a proverb, কষ্ট না করলে কেষ্ট পাওয়া যাবে না. If you don't
If
if
you
you
don't,
don't work hard, kesto as in Bhagavan you'll not get.
yes,
So you have to. Nothing comes easy in life.
absolutely.
Anirban, I was also doing that. I was in London. I was teaching business economics to MBA students, and I used to I would leave the house at 7, come back at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I used to think, नहीं मैं भी कर सकती हूँ. When I had to rely on Red Bull, so I would consume 2 Red Bull. अभी नींद नहीं आ रही है, लेकिन कुछ कुछ क्रिएटिविटी हो ही नहीं रही है. That's where I decided, बस एक
It's
काम
all
हो
it's how different people, right? Different people have different
It's
ways
high
of dealing with
people
it.
like you who are
so,
able to do it.
so this is basically where your process, and that process is right for you. Yeah. So for example, when Anirban says that he sleeps only for 2.5 hours, and Manas says that he's doing his full time job and still able to catch up with his writing, and Vani says that I need to be
I
engrossed
need
in writing.
I, I need 8 hours of sleep, 2 hours of meditation, and if I'm not doing that, I cannot write anything. My creatively, I'll just go down. I cannot work.
So see, you three are the creative lot, और हमारे सिर्फ दिन बीत रहे हैं. you know So, all right, so coming to my next question, as we are talking about crime reads, are these crime reads emotionally engaging? That's the only reason that they hit the nail in the head. What are your thoughts, Anirban?
Every
I'll ask
every
this question to you first.
So every story has to be emotionally engaging. Otherwise, why would the reader even pick it up? Right? There is, of course, we are humans. we have a very latent voyeuristic streak in us. We love pain, we love violence, and we like to see or observe violence happening to others. कि हम हमें तो कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन देखो शर्मा जी के घर पे ना कल चोर आया था, ओहो शर्मा जी के सर पे कैसे मारा. Then we talk like this, right? Gossip की बाजू वाले घर पे क्या हो रहा है हमें तो पता होना चाहिए, right? So there is a voyeuristic streak in us, and that's why we enjoy crime stories. And we have been actually conditioned to read crime stories from childhood. I mean, what is Hansel and Gretel? It's a
Yeah,
case of child trafficking and kidnapping, right?
absolutely.
It's a case of abduction.
Yes.
Goldilocks is about housebreaking, right? Then you go on to your famous five or the secret sevens. They are what? They're actually crime stories. The crimes are minimal. Someone stole a statue,
Yeah.
someone found a hidden treasure and ran away, but it's still theft, it's still burglary. You go to Hardy Boys, you go to Nancy Drew, and then you go to Sherlock Holmes. These are all crime novels. And so, bachpan se hi, we are already conditioned to like crime stories.
Ah,
So
yes.
so I think that is one of the biggest reasons why we love crime stories. एक तो दूसरे के साथ क्या हो रहा है वो जानना है हमें, and
Hmm.
especially true crime. Especially
True.
true crime. True crime is तो भैया salivatingly delightful. माने वो एकदम ओ हो क्या हुआ, कि कैसे मारा उसको, चाकू कितनी बार घुसाया पेट में, 16 बार, अरे बाप रे. So all that drama comes in. So
Yeah.
so that's why we love true crime. And uh, we are also getting edgier with the
Yeah.
with the introduction of the OTTs and all of that. Our reading habits have changed. um, we can describe violence, we can see violence in its glory.
True.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's a separate debate. But yeah, so I think we are desensitized to violence. Actually, that's more thing. मैं एक बार चश्मे के उधर गया था डॉक्टर के पास. I think Manas has somebody. I think Manas knows the story. In another session, I was saying, मैं चश्मे के डॉक्टर के पास गया था, तो तब
Mhm.
मेरे स्क्रिप्ट राइटर का फोन आया, सावधान का स्क्रिप्ट राइटर. और आई गॉट लॉस्ट इन टॉकिंग टू हिम. आई सेड सुन सुन, अच्छा सुन, उसको ना नहीं नहीं नहीं, चाकू मत मार, चाकू मत मार, खून निकलेगा, वो अच्छा नहीं है, ठीक है, बहुत प्रॉब्लम होगा. तो ऐसा कर, पिलो जो है ना, उसको बोल पिलो जो है बुढ़िया के शक्ल के ऊपर रख के ना दबा दबा दे. उसके बाद हम दिखाएंगे पैर कैसे कांप रहा है उसका, ठीक है. उसके बाद पैर ठीक एकदम स्टिल हो जाता है, पिलो निकलता है, बुढ़िया मर गई. Then and script writer said, हाँ 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 ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. Then I turned around and I looked at everybody. The entire lot of patients and nurses, they were looking at me like I was a serial killer. Then I had to
Right.
explain, नहीं 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 भाई, ये script के लिए था. So we are
Right.
desensitized, to violence.
So, Manas, what are your views on this?
I mean, crime has always been in vogue from the times of Doyle to the times of Anirban and Vani. I think we have all enjoyed crime so much. But what I feel makes crime so popular is it's so near and yet so far, right? Because there's crime happening all around us, and yet
Mhm.
criminal minds are few. So delving into the criminal psyche is something which is really interesting for a lot of people, and they want to understand how criminal minds work. So a lot
Mhm.
of even true crime literature is written strongly from the criminal's perspective. So I think people are naturally attracted to something which is close to them, but they don't really get a chance to uh, look at it closely. Now, in my case, I have had this, if you want to call it, enviable ringside view of crime because my father was in the police. So I have been exposed to a lot more crime and serious crime around me. So, well, that perhaps helps me in my writing, but I can just say this. Actually, there was a question which just popped up on screen about crime being abhorrent. I think the interest which comes to, the interest which comes into this genre is primarily because people want to understand the psyche of a criminal. And it's very interesting, as Anirban said, to know how many times somebody was stabbed or how many rounds or even if it's technically incorrect, but as long as it gives you that masala, that is what people are
Mm.
looking for if you're talking strictly from a commercial perspective. Now writing crime becomes a little more serious, particularly when you're doing non-fiction, you have to be very particular about facts and right, getting things out there which are correctly placed, and also maybe perhaps at the end of the day cater to a commercial audience. But I think crime will always be popular because of this so near yet so far phenomenon. It'll never go out of vogue. And crime fiction, crime non-fiction, crime in general, I think that is one thing which the world will always need more of.
So,
In
Vani, what are
writing.
your thoughts on that? Where Manas
I
has just
agree with what Anirban and Manas said. Yes, it is very emotionally, engaging. And imagine, I would love to imagine a person who works at his, workplace all day, working, on balance sheets or Microsoft Excel or whatever it is that you're doing. And after the day, you want to relax yourself and you want to watch somebody's life at least, or you want to read about somebody's life, that's much more interesting. So I think most people look at crime as not as something very abhorrent. I mean, I just read a question and it was like, yeah, crime per se is not good, you don't like it, but then when you read about it, there is a sense of relaxation. There's a sense of, okay, you know what, there are people, who have more interesting things going on in their life, rather than fighting with the sabzi wala or the doodh wala for ₹1 ka ₹2 ka change. किसी ने तुम्हारा सर फोड़ दिया, that's much more interesting to read about. So at the end of the day, I think more men are reading crime fiction because they find it generally more relaxing after a day of uh, uh, work. And secondly, I think that somewhere along this whole thing in crime fiction, most crime fiction, I mean majority of the crime fiction, the where the good wins over the evil, I think, or some sense of resolution towards the end of the drama where either the criminal is caught or why what happened and why it happened. I think that in itself is very, it's very reassuring कि भगवान अभी भी है, चाहे we are not, no longer so depending on religion and all spirituality. But I think crime fiction has taken that place, which religion or spirituality had. That we now have answers through these detectives and through police walas who are just solving crime and killing criminals and all that. अरे the evil की जय नहीं हो सकती क्योंकि good की जय है. I know Manas would be able to talk more about it since the stories are there in his house. And Anirban, of course, we grew up watching Crime Patrol and Savdhan India और वो सब देख के ना ऐसे होता था, oh God, हमें कितना ऐसे मतलब आज भी अगर आप में courage है तो आप कुछ भी किसी का भी सर फोड़ सकते हैं. So I remember one time, a couple of years ago, we were all watching these programs, and I remember sleeping with a rod, iron rod next to my bed. कि कोई आ गया रात को, somebody just breaks in, there's a house break in, तो at least खुद के पास होना चाहिए. But I am not a light sleeper, so it used to be like अरे किसी ने मेरा ही सर फोड़ दिया तो क्या होएगा? मेरी बात so so
it's a good thought.
मतलब
Yeah.
I think, and the third thing that I want to say is that this genre has also grown over the years. We're not like there are not just detective stories that we are looking at, but something like what I have written in my novel is something which is also crime. Stalking somebody, and that's crime in itself. And we are looking at, I think, contemporary crime fiction is more about stories which are about people like us. आपने किसी को stalk किया होगा. I must have stalked people. I have surely stalked people. Or these things happen normally, and then there's a very thin line. We are actually standing on the edge of a knife where there's a thin line where this is respectable, but this is not respectable. If I start chasing somebody and messaging it, pinging, sending my pictures, or doing something obnoxious, then that is crossing the line. And what the other person can or cannot do, there's an entire, you can write a book about it. I mean, I wrote a book about it.
And in this virtue only, there is a viewer who is asking a question. I mean, like my phone is flooded with questions, but and I have my own questions as well. But in interest of time, I'll put a mix of the questions from the viewers and my questions as well. So there's this question, Vani. I would start with you. That
Mhm,
this has been asked by one of our viewers, Rashima Verma. She says, when
mhm.
you write crime, do your characters have shades of gray or are they start black?
As far as I'm concerned, I think each one of us has a shade of gray in us. I think that's how you create relatable characters. If I'm looking at a guy, he's not necessarily all good. There are many shades that a person may have, and if as a writer I'm able to tap into those denser section, the denser parts of a person, and bring out of that, that kachara that a person has in addition to all the goodness that you have, I think I've created a perfectly relatable character. So that's what I aim at as a writer.
Okay, Manas,
I
what are
don't know
your
about.
I entirely agree with Vani that good characterization demands that you have gray characters because nobody is either black or white. Even in Anirban's book, in fact, The Deadly Dozen, one thing which stands out is right that you don't want to sympathize with serial killers, but you do understand that there are layers to those personalities also. So it's very important to understand that there is this fine line which some people cross, others don't. But all of us live in the grays, in the zone of fuzzy logic. Otherwise, a binary life would be very boring, much like binary writing, right? If you have happy endings to every story and good and bad characters, then that doesn't make for great writing at all.
I know. I mean, like I can totally relate to it. Anirban, what are your thoughts on that?
Of course, I mean, gray is so much. I mean, it's far more interesting than black and white. And gray is where we all are today. You know, you may be a respectable a person, but you may hold so many secrets which we don't know about, right?
Mhm.
As Vani said, you may have stalked women. How do I know? I may have stalked women. How do you know?
Absolutely.
I so and that's the beauty, right? That's the beauty of characters,
Absolutely.
and that's what appeals to the reader as well. कि मैं सिर्फ हीरो और विलन को नहीं देख रहा हूँ. Why did Dar become such a hit or a Bazigar become such a hit? Because that was the anti-hero, right? Shah Rukh took the
Absolutely.
plunge and said, "I will be the anti-hero."
Yeah.
You know, and in fact, the rumors were that Sunny Deol and was very upset about the ending of Dar
Yeah.
because he came out looking Phuddu,
Yeah.
whereas Shah Rukh
Absolutely.
stole the complete show. So
So,
yes, gray
so
is the way
Anirban,
to go.
with this, what you have just said, and given the example of Karan Bazigar, that there's one example which comes in my mind, Khalnayak. Right? When
Mhm.
Khalnayak came out, most of the boys of the same age, they wanted to be the Sanjay Dutt in their real life. They wanted to be the Khalnayak because they saw their hero in that movie. So my question is, while
Okay.
writing a crime story, what does the author
Do I
feel?
want to become a murderer? Is that the question?
Yes, yes. So what my question actually is
Huh.
that while writing a crime fiction or while
Mhm.
writing crime, does the author has that responsibility on their shoulders that I should not portray or I should not give the character such a loud characteristic that people should try and feel the same way. I hope I'm able to field
Okay,
this
so I
question.
get you of this. It's about that we shouldn't end up hero worshipping the villains, right? That's what
Yes,
you.
kind of,
Right,
yes.
right. So, especially for people like us, and I mean Manas as well, we write true crime, which is non-fiction. We have to
Mhm.
get our facts right. That is our moral duty first and foremost to the genre and to the readers as well. We have to be honest and we have to have very thorough research. Now, post that, how do I build my character? In
Mhm.
my book, which is The Deadly Dozen, I see things. I dived into the minds of these criminals, to see how they thought, why they did what they did, and at times, yes, they come out larger than life. For example, an Auto Shankar, um, comes across as, and the way, of course, I've treated every story. So Auto Shankar is treated like a Tamil film, Tamil masala movie, the way of writing. Uh, Whereas again, Nithari, if you read it, it's completely an eye opener to what you know about Nithari,
True.
right? So you may think that Surinder Kohli and Pandey are mass murderers and all of that, but in the book, what my investigation throws up is something else completely, right? So we have to take care. So I had a Ajay, can you switch back to the four panel? This is really odd looking at myself talking. Thank you so much. Huh? I get quite freaked out. It's not a good face to look at. I can't stare at it for more than like 30 seconds. Huh? So so I in my initial days when I was writing the book. So Penguin published it, and I had a lovely editor called Gurveen Chadda, absolute darling. So she and I were discussing what is the tone for the book, and she said, "Are you sure you want to be brutal, gory, and all of that? Do you want it to be so dark?" And I said, "Yes." So she asked me why, and I said, "If I don't describe the crime in all its horrible, dastardly manner, the viewers are not going to puke. They are not going to hate the criminal. They have to feel the disgust. They have to feel they should physically be they should be violently sick while reading it, because that is what the crime was. When you rape a 3-year-old girl and you slit her throat and you smash her head with a boulder, that's nothing to be enjoy about. That is the most horrible of crimes.
Yes.
Or when you tie a child up and you swing it like a pendulum and hit its head against the wall till it's smashed and kill the 4-year-old. If I don't write it, how will the reader know what the crime was? I'll say, okay,
Absolutely.
and she killed the baby. That's it. Or reader is going to say, oh yeah, she killed the baby. Acha, theek hai. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When Raman Raghav kills a woman, smashes her head open, and then because she's not wearing any clothes, gets aroused and makes not makes love, but has sex with the corpse while he's thrusting. Bits of her brain are falling onto the floor. If I don't write that, you will not visualize what happened,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely.
that is my way of putting the spin of you not ending up worshipping the villain, but you will
Absolutely.
hate the villain.
If
Absolutely.
I may
Very
add a bit to that,
sure, Manas.
I don't think it is our job to moral police our readers. So
Mhm.
it's up to them to find their moral compass. Because I think you have to presume that your audience is intelligent, even more intelligent than you. I don't think you should write with the presumption that you are putting this book in the hands of people who don't understand what you're writing. Otherwise, what's the point in the first place? So I think, particularly as Anirban said, in the case of non-fiction crime, you have to be true to the facts, because these are things which have actually happened, and they may be gory, they may be horrible, but they need to be spelled out as they are.
True. Vani, your views on that?
Okay, so excellent answer, Anirban and Manas. When you're writing nonfiction, you have that limitation that the event has already happened, and you can't pretty much be too moralistic about it. नहीं हम ऐसे नहीं लिख सकते, or things like that, because the person has existed in reality, and you present it the way it has happened. Like the example that you gave about Nithari Khan, so talking about that. But in case of fiction, I guess so so it's really it all depends on you. What sort of a person you are, where your own compass tilts. Like they say, if you're deeply religious, you cannot write crime fiction. बिकॉज आपका वो कंपास उधर जाता नहीं है, बड़ी मुश्किल से जाता है. यू नो व्हाई? बिकॉज फॉर मी व्हेन आई वाज राइटिंग दिस, आई नो व्हेन आई वाज राइटिंग दिस, I had so I don't swear. I don't swear in my normal life. I don't use swear words. It was so hard for me. You can count the number of swear words this has because I don't swear at all. So for me, the toughest was, oh my God, what sort of aspects, should I give this guy? He is up to no good. And you have to make it relatable. You have to make it interesting. He's a flawed character. And people like when you talk about flawed and damaged characters, so what do you think about? They have certain stuff going on in their head which is not normal. And if you are a reasonably normal person, you're a spiritual person, you meditate and all that, you're like, अरे यार कुछ तो इसको साधुपंथी के वो सिखाओ. So for me, moral compass was like really blocking me to create something which was too gory and too strong. But that's just me. I completely agree with Manas. We're not here, moral policing. You could actually, create, like Stephen King says, he has a famous quote. He says, first, I create sympathy for my characters, and then I let them loose. Do whatever you have to, murder, kill, जो
Or
भी
do what?
करना है कर. So
After.
you fiction may you have all that liberty if you just do whatever you want to, and yeah, then you are guided by your moral compass. What stance you want to take, how far you want this to go.
Greatly said. Greatly said. Thank you very much. And I'm actually loving this talk. So, with this, I have another question which comes into my mind just now. While reading a crime thriller, this is just what happens with me at times, and I'm sure that this happens with many of other people as well. While reading a crime thriller, mystery and tension saturates at every page, right? So, is summing up a story with those images a gift of an author, or is it just the practice?
ये आउट ऑफ सिलेबस वाला क्वेश्चन लग रहा है मुझे.
थोड़ा सा आसान करके, other words.
Okay,
So
so I'll tell you. When you sum up a story, right? When you write a story and you sum it up, so you give those imageries in your stories. While a reader, when the reader reads it, he thinks of those images with your words. So is that something which you practice, or is it a gift of an author which is there in themselves?
So, okay, so to understand, to simplify what you said is you're talking about the visual element of storytelling. I
Yes.
Okay. तो ऐसा बोल देना चाहिए था ना, इतना लंबा काहे तुम पूछे हैं?
मैं अपने व्यूअर्स के लिए कुछ
ये
रखूंगा कि नहीं?
तुम जरूर टीचर थे, तुम जरूर टीचर थे. ऐसे सवाल तुम पूछ रहे हो हैं?
सर अब
घुमा फिरा के
अभी इतने इंटेलेक्चुअल लोगों के साथ बैठ करके मैं भी तो दिखाऊंगा ना, मैं कुछ
अबे इंटेलेक्चुअल यार खेले अरे भैया. Okay, so visual element, visual, it has to be visual, right? I don't agree when Vani says that it's limiting. True crime is limiting because the crime has happened. No, I can take that one incident and I can view it from 360 degrees, and I will give you 360 different ways of looking at that one event. So I am free. I am free to tell my non-fiction true crime story. I will make it so interesting for you, and that is a job of a writer. For us, for people who write true crime, we can't just write. कि हाँ, इंस्पेक्टर गया, होल्स्टर से बंदूक निकाला और 2 राउंड चलाया और गिर गया. ये हुआ था. Correct? ये हुआ था. But when I'm writing it, I have to get into the details. I have to talk about the bead of sweat that was crawling down his forehead. I have to tell him about the asthma problem that the cop was having. I have to say while he was chasing, he fell down. I have to talk about different. So true crime is not limiting, right? But I have to, through my methods, take the viewer, not the viewer, take the reader into my universe. and I have to make the reader see it. That's my style. I'm speaking for myself when I'm writing. My book is very visual. If you read it, and I hope you read it, Sumit,
I
it's
do.
like watching a movie. It's written like a screenplay.
Yes.
Everything is detailed out, and that's a trick I have learned from your Uncle Charles Dickens. Uncle Charles Dickens जो थे, सब कुछ एकदम बहुत बढ़िया तरीके से डिस्क्राइब करते थे.
Explain करके, right?
एक्सप्लेन करके, विजुअल देके, रेफरेंस देके, ये करके, वो करके. So for me, when I write about true crime, I want my reader to be in the middle,
Yeah.
as if
Understand.
he is standing in front of Otto Shankar. That's why
Correct.
my book has 7 or 8 different languages. There are dialogues in 7 or 8 different languages. There's Kannada, there's Tamil, there's Hindi, there's Bhojpuri, there's Bangla, there's Assamese, there's Marathi, there's Haryanvi, there's Punjabi. Why? Because I want the reader to say those words, right? When a reader is reading Punjabi, he's actually mouthing the words of Darbara Singh, the serial killer.
Yes.
Or if it's in Tamil, of Otto Shankar, my viewer is present in that milieu.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's how I build my universe to suck the reader in and
Amazing.
to hold the reader inside and envelop him in that universe, saying, "Yehi hai, ye hai
Amazing.
pura dunya."
So, in the interest of time, I would like to take Vani and Manas's views on this thing which I just asked as well. Then we will play the short video of your works, and then followed by the message for this. So, Vani, what are your views?
I want to add something to what Anirban said with regards to the previous question that non-fiction may you don't have it's limiting. I think you pointed that out correctly. I think what I meant to say was that the event has happened. You know who the killer is and how many people he or she killed. So that's what I meant, as in the event has happened. You know how many people died and what the verdict was. That way I said, like, that's how. But in
Okay,
any
so
sort
keeping
of
that in
story,
mind,
not
Vani, keeping that in mind,
only
निठारी,
that,
what do you know of निठारी? एक बार आपने बोला तो मैं क्विकली एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बता देता हूँ. निठारी, what do we know? सुरिंदर कोहली, मनिंदर सिंह पांडे
yes,
गिल्टी है. 16
yes,
स्केलेटन्स पाया गया था उनके बैकयार्ड में. ठीक है, तो
yes.
वो गिल्टी है, वो खाया है, वो कुकिंग करके खाया है. ऑल ऑफ दैट वी नो, राइट? नाउ आई विल टेल यू, 16 स्केलेटन जो पाया गया था उसका सिर्फ लिम्ब्स था, टॉर्सो नहीं था. कहां गया टॉर्सो? If I am in the construction business, I have JCVs. Will I bury bodies in my own backyard, or will I take them somewhere else, dig up and bury? 2 years before Nithari case happened, kids playing cricket found the ball went into D5. They went and picked it up. They found a cut hand. Cop said this is an animal carcass. Bury it back. So these are things we don't know, or the public doesn't know, even though it's in the Supreme Court judgment. These stories.
What
The
I
thing
was
is that
trying to
we
say was that you can write crime from many points of view. So the maid could have a point of view. You're absolutely right. It really depends on, you can give it a 360-degree angle because each person from Doodh wala to the police wala to everybody who's involved may have their own perspective, and depending on what perspective you are using, you can create so many settings. And I think that's what where your craft comes in, that whatever point of view you are using, the setting you are using, are you able to generate the sort of vocabulary and the sort of ideas in a reader's mind which makes it all very real for him or her. That if it's a hut and a maid you're talking, and if you're looking at from her perspective, where is she sitting? So this is
Right. So you
all
very right.
about your
You
craft,
very rightly
and
pointed
I
out that
think
it should be imagined. Yeah.
you're not born work on it. It's a process, and you work on it, and that's a lifelong process for a writer. You write 10 drafts and you kill them all and you come up with an 11th one which is just perfect. The setting is perfect, the dialogues and all are perfect. Yeah, it's just honing your craft. That's what.
Right. So, Manas, what are
Must
your views
move on.
quickly?
Well, as far as visualization is concerned, viewing a crime, I think it's a shared gift. You asked the question about being a gift. So it's the gift of the writer and the gift of the reader. So
Wow.
how well a reader is able to visualize what is on the page is something you have to leave to the reader. But of course, as a writer, you have your own process. So I am also somebody who thinks a lot visually before I do write about the impact it will create. Having said that, like Anirban said, I have also learned a bit from Uncle Dickens and Uncle Thurber and so on. So what is important is that I perhaps understood the idiom of Uncle Dickens differently from the way Anirban did or from the way Vani did. So I have my own interpretation. The beauty of visualizing anything as a reader is that you have tremendous freedom. So everybody looks at the visualization of a book differently, right? So that is
Absolutely.
why if you put the same book in the hands of, I'm sure Anirban will agree with this, in the hands of three different directors, they will make three different movies out of it.
Absolutely.
So, but my perspective, yes, from the writer's perspective, I do think it is a gift if you can visualize what you want to convey and do it effectively in your writing too. And that is why I believe, and I pick up from the rest of the panelists in saying that it is very important to read, because I think you understand the language of visualization if you build your vocabulary through reading people who are masters at this. So Stephen King has been spoken about. We have spoken about Charles Dickens. I've spoken about James Thurber. Right? What these people gave us was, in fact, Louisa May Alcott. I can go on with these names, Ayn Rand, but you see what's happening. Right? It gives you a sense of what's going on.
So, Manas, that reminds me of my last question. Your message to youngsters on the importance of reading and writing, because these days we see people on airplanes, in trains, in buses. They are busy in their own little world called mobile phones or maybe the tablets. So, your message on the importance of reading and writing for our listeners.
Well, I- all I can say is please read and write. And please at least read, because I think that is what really enriches life in so many ways. And there is no substitute for a good book. People often tell me that they read something on Google, or there are so many places where you can get information, but scrambled pieces of information can never really be compared to a well-written book, fiction, non-fiction, any kind of book. I mean, it's fascinating to see how writers think, to understand the world they create. It gives you something new in life. I think you become a better version of yourself every time you pick up a book. So please go ahead and keep reading crime fiction, crime non-fiction, everything else, romance. Please just read, because at the end of the day, uh, I mean, our words truly define us.
Absolutely. Anirban, your message to the youngsters, please. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. As I say, reading has to be a habit and encouraged from a very young age. As parents as well, you have to start encouraging kids to read. It's not about the kid wanting to become a doctor or engineer or MBA. तो ये किताब पढ़ के क्या होगा? किताब पढ़ के क्या होगा? हैं? ऐसे तो ऐसे इंटेलेक्चुअल बनेगा? No, नहीं है. The person will become sensitive. The person will gather knowledge of the world. Will become empathetic to the universe around him or her. It's not about freaking money and freaking career all the time. Reading is something that has to be encouraged. One of my favorite aunts, my eldest aunt, she loves reading, and she's supported my writing since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Love
Her
that.
biggest regret in life, she says, is that she will never be able to read all the books in the world.
Wow, what a thought.
That every day 1000 किताब निकल रहे यार, मैं पढ़ ही नहीं पाऊंगा, मैं पढ़ ही नहीं
Absolutely.
पाऊंगा यार. So that is the beauty, and it helps you to escape into some other world, right? Reading.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Vani,
please,
your
please.
message.
Yeah, I would be taking my Kindle to my grave. तो मैं तो ऐसे पूरा सोच के बैठी हूँ कि I'll have before something happens, I'll have some 1,000 books downloaded in my Kindle and I'll go to my grave with that. Anyhow, that was on a lighter note. But I think more than that, it's not fair to tell everybody that don't watch Netflix and don't watch Amazon Prime. I think where the things are a bit. This thing is that problematic is where people are binge watching and they aren't reading anything. So I would say do whatever you have to have that. ऐसे मार नहीं रहा है थप्पड़, but I think if you're doing like say you're watching some series or something for an hour, spend half an hour to reading every day just to expand your mind, and don't take stress about there are so many genres that you can play around with and so many books that you can experiment. Just find something that you like, walk into a library and see what interests you. So that's just me. I'm a very easygoing person. जिसको जो
Absolutely.
पसंद
I'm
आता है
I'm
करो
I'm
और
still
बाय
coming to
जरूर करो
terms.
बुक जरूर बाय करो.
Uh,
Absolutely.
I'm still coming to terms when I hear things like, "Oh, Lord of the Rings was such a lovely movie," or "Harry Potter such a lovely movie." I said, "Oh, right, okay," but I mean, I have to accept it, right? There are people who've not even read the book,
Books.
you
Yes,
know.
that's
But
I
there are
little like it
also
there.
people who saw the movie and then went back to the book
went
to read
back
it,
to my
right?
my son is one of those. He has read all the levels and all the books of the Lords of the Rings and the Harry Potter. So both of
Harry
them.
Potter brought back people to reading. I mean,
Yes, that is true.
so
And
so
with your whole message, what I could gather is reading can seriously damage the ignorance. So that's the reason where everybody should read books. So guys, keep on
If I
reading.
add something, just sorry for interrupting, but I must say that for anybody who wants to become a writer, and this is specific to writing, if you want to get into it seriously, please do get yourselves a literary agent. Right? We are all lucky here to be presented
yeah.
by represented by a very good one, the Book Bakers, and I really hope that
This comes
you all
back to
get
the
yourself.
first excuse. This comes back to the first excuse Vani
Yeah,
has
absolutely.
met in people. Publish ही नहीं होगा.
Publish
होगा,
नहीं होगा.
publish होगा.
Please get yourselves an agent.
So
Yeah.
this is a shout out to Suhail Mathur, because we are
The
all
book bakers,
represented
the
by
book
this
bakers
book.
at
We're all represented
gmail.com.
by him, so please get yourselves an agent.
The book
Absolutely
bakers at
great.
gmail.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. But before you guys go, I would want you to please stay for another minute or two because we will show our guests' work. And I would encourage you to buy their books, read them all, and give your views. So can we have the video, please? I'm really sorry for the inconvenience and the technical glitch. What we will do is we will put the videos on our Facebook page and the Phoenix Literature Festival pages, and you guys would be able to see it. And for now, I would say thank you to all our gorgeous panelists for their thoughts, their views, and their encouragement to us to become better readers and become better writers. I thank the sponsors and all the members who have joined in, all the viewers who have joined in. This is not the end, guys. This is the beginning of episode 85. It's only episode 84 which has ended. Episode 85 is now beginning. Thank you very much, all of you. Have a
It
lovely
sounded like a Casey Bokadia film. This is not the end, just the beginning.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It was
you.
lovely to.
Thank you.
lovely
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.